you had, Nicole, was medium grain enriched rice. So what they did was put a coating of vitamins and minerals over each grain of rice. They can take that process further by parboiling the rice or partially cooking the rice with steam and then drying it. This partial cooking with steam pushes all the nutrients from the bran into the rice grain. And that's why it's more nutritious than white. It does take longer to cook with more liquid, but that results in a fluffy texture after it's cooked. Oh, did I mention brown rice takes longer to cook as well? If I didn't, it does. And it requires more liquid as well because it has to get through the tough interior of the rice. Now that you've learned a little bit of rice, I'm going to show you a video on the cooking methods of rice. Be sure to pay attention because we'll be discussing some points of the video. It's very short. Okay, we'll just skip the video altogether and we'll go straight to boiling rice.
Yes, shot.
We're going to start off with a little activity. I'm going to have you each just take some of the rice. I'll just and shake it up. Oh boy. Sylvie, can you tell me what you see happening?
The water became opaque
And cloudy,
cloudy.
right? Nicole, why do you think it became cloudy?
I think that maybe it's like the starch coming out of the rice and into
That's
the water.
exactly it. Do you have something
Yeah,
to
that's
say?
what I said.
Yep, that's exactly it. As soon as the liquid is added to the rice, it starts to release all of its starches. Now, these starches are what you're going to manipulate so that you can get a variety of products. And that's what we're going to see when we boil the rice and we try our risotto with this. Okay, let's get straight to boiling rice then.
All right.
If you all will follow me to the stove. Kyle, you ready? So what we're gonna start off with is a big pot. You want it to be big because rice is gonna grow to 3 times its size once it's cooked. So when you're looking at the rice, you're gonna go for a 2-to-1 ratio of rice to water for this particular rice. This ratio changes as the rice changes. Because remember I said brown rice requires more liquid and parboiled rice requires more liquid as well. But for this kind of rice, what it is just long grain enriched rice. So it's just a 2-to-1. So I already have 4 cups of water in there, and I added some salt and oil so that the grains are separated. Is it wrong? So I'm gonna add high heat so that way it'll begin to boil. And as we wait for that to boil, let's head over to our rice samples, and we'll talk about our rice samples, and then once it starts boiling, we'll come back and add the rice. So what I have for you guys here are cooking charts for different varieties of rice. That's mine. So can anybody tell me if they've seen these kinds of varieties of rice or cooked these kinds of rice?
Yeah.
Yes.
What kind?
I've cooked like brown rice, white long grain, and Italian short grain.
So you're familiar with boiling rice?
Yes.
What are some other cooking methods that you've used for the cooking?
Well, when I've done something like risotto, it's not so much boiling as that you like simmer it, and you're constantly adding liquid and
Constantly stirring.
yeah, constantly
So
stirring.
risotto is a method all in itself for cooking rice. So that's one cooking method of rice, risotto. Now, when you're making risotto, you're gonna saute the rice in an oil or fat. So for each one, for each grain. And then from there, you're adding liquid as you're stirring. The reason why you're stirring is so you can activate those starches. That way it releases, the rice releases more and more starches so it can stick. Kyle, have you used any other cooking method for rice?
I used the method that we're doing here, where we bring the water to a boil, then we put the rice in there. But I've also done a cooking method where you just add rice and water together, and then once the rice brings it to a boil, I've done it where I've just taken it off the heat with a cover on it, off the heat, and then just let it kind of, the rice will just naturally absorb it with the heat that's already in the hot water. And this way you're less likely to burn your rice in the bottom of the pan.
Awesome. So let's go back to our pot and see if it's boiling. It's got a slight boil going on. So because I used 4 cups of water, Nick, how many scoops of rice am I gonna use? 2. Perfect. So after I've added my rice, I'm gonna cover it and reduce it to a low simmer. And then I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes. So while that's going, we can try our risotto samples.
Cool.
So these are risotto balls. They were made using the risotto method, and then I pulled them down and scooped them and breaded them and just deep fried them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to try something? Cyril, do you want to try?
Thank you.
So Nick, what are you noticing about your rice after you try it?
sticky. It's kind of, it has like a creamy texture to it.
Cyril, can you tell me why that is?
Sorry. Why it's chewy?
And why it's sticky?
It has to do with the cooking method in regards to the slow addition of that water and the starch content of the rice.
Awesome. From there, we'll move on to the steaming method, which is kind of what you were talking about earlier. Now, there are many different ways that you can do the steaming method. Can anyone tell me what they think they would use for the steaming method? What item would you use? For example, like, would you use the oven or the stove?
Rice cooker.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You would use a rice cooker. You can use a rice cooker, you can use a microwave, and you can even use the oven and the stove top. It's not like steaming vegetables, but you have the rice and the water together, and it's cooking slowly over a period of time, so it's slowly incorporating the water into the rice. You also can buy these little packets that you can throw in the microwave. It's way past the converted method, so that's why it's so easy to cook. It is, however, not as savory as cooking it on your own. So far we've covered 3 cooking methods: boiling,